Garden Report is brought to you by Prize Picks and the Game Time app.
Hey, Barry Manning here. Welcome to a practice edition of the Garden Report from the Auerbach Center. Noah Dalzell here, and we're starting to take a look at the underside of the roster. Younger guys, new faces, people that might surprise or fit in that didn't last year. And we talked to Baylor Scheierman today, and he's topped my list from the start. Love his skill set. Love how he can fit in right away, I think, in many ways. And today, talked about putting on 10 to 15 pounds of muscle. Here's how he said he did that.
I changed my diet. Shout out to Steve in the kitchen, helping me figure out things. It's nice to have the kitchen here, something that, I'm able to take advantage of while I'm in the facility, able to get 2 or 3 meals in here a day. And then also, just taking creatine. I'm trying to, shed off some of that fat.
So that's big to me, Noah, because physically, that's the biggest question with him. Is he quick enough? Is he athletic enough? Can he defend? He even said later when we talked to him, it's defense that's going to get me on the court if I'm going to be able to play right away. We know he can shoot. We know he can pass, rebound, all that. And I'm super excited about those skills. But how much will defense, athleticism, that kind of thing limit how much we see him early on?
Yeah, maybe early on, I think there is a learning curve, but this organization has showed that these are not static things. Like, you can come in a little bit slower, a little bit less athletic, and actually work on those things. And he talked about Sam Hauser today. I think Sam Hauser, I caution using him as a Baylor Scheierman blueprint just because of how efficient of a shooter he's been. But he said that the two have been working together. It was kind of by accident at first, but now that they're both in the Midwest, have a lot in common. And Sam Hauser is a perfect example of what you're asking around, can you become a better defender and actually be an NBA caliber player? And obviously he's shown he can do that in a number of years. And right now, we don't have any reason to think that Baylor can't follow in those footsteps. And certainly 10 to 15 pounds in summer league seems like a good start. He talked about just utilizing the meals and the kitchen and everything. I thought that was kind of a youthful, just got out of college energy. But yeah, I think we might be able to see him at some points, probably early on. I'd imagine he'll be in Maine more.
Yeah, and I'm most excited to see him in the preseason because I think he'll have ball time, shots, opportunity. They want to see what he can do. And he's one of the guys, Springer, Cada, they're next up in terms of if Horford's down for a game or out, Holiday's taking a night off, certainly Tatum or Brown, there's opportunity there. And Hauser, Pritchard, they're going to get the bulk of those minutes, Cornette too. But the next man up, let's say 9 in the rotation, that's there for the taking, for those young guys. And I think in his case, he's 24. Springer, he's on the last year of his deal. Cada, who, you signed him 3 years, but it's only 1 guaranteed. Even Walsh to some degree this year, and I know he's further down this list. You have to see what these guys are made of. You got to start assessing it. You got to start committing to development. And I think that's going to be a theme early in the year. It's going to be a long season. We know what the vets can do here. What can the younger guys, the rookies and people we haven't seen as much in recent years do? Because you got to make decisions year in and year out. You don't just keep these guys around forever. Yeah,
and honestly, it brings me back to something that Brad Stevens said, I think his first media availability before the draft, after the championship, and he talked about how, early on it's going to be about scaling guys' minutes who weren't necessarily part of the rotation. How do you, I don't think that he mentioned specific names, but that he said there's guys that didn't really play this year that we're going to scale up their minutes early on and rest some of the more veteran players. And so I think we've become kind of accustomed to certain guys just not being in the rotation, Jaden Springer being one of them. Everybody was excited about him after he was traded from Philadelphia, and then we didn't really see him much. I wouldn't be surprised, like you said, if Jaden Springer's a guy that gets some early looks and gets an opportunity here. I was surprised, Jaden Springer turned 22 yesterday and Baylor Scheierman turned 24 today. So these are both young guys, but actually Springer, who's been in the league for a couple of years, he's really young. And so I think people that maybe are counting him out or assuming that he's not going to ever develop a role, I would not be surprised if early on he was able to do that.
I'll drop this note too, and I was surprised to hear this. One of the more impressive guys at camp so far I've heard, and in the workouts leading up to it, you wouldn't have expected this, but J.D. Davison. And he's further down that list. He's probably going to start the year in Maine. I don't know how much we'll see him this season, but he's back. He's on the two-way deal. The defense, the shot making, stuff we saw in Summer League, that's there. And I don't know if it's going to translate to real NBA games. He hasn't played real NBA basketball to this point other than a few spot garbage time minutes. But he's been impressive so far. For me, it's Scheierman. who are you looking at among maybe some of the more unsung names here in camp once the preseason gets going in about a week here, who you're most excited to see?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't heard much about him, but I will say Jaden Springer, just because I feel like the 2 full games that we got to watch of him since he was acquired by Boston was one G League game and then that one Summer League game, and he just looked, head and shoulders better than everybody else on the floor in those games. And there's a reason why they made that trade for him. Same with Tillman, right? That wasn't just a random thing. I think they have long-term plans for Tillman to contribute to this team. And so, yeah, I think Jaden Springer, he's young, but he's also grown a lot in this league, and he's sharpened his skills quite a bit. And, I think that he had that stint before he was traded where he was guarding Steph Curry and Luka, and showing that he could stop some of the league's best players or at least mitigate them. And so, yeah, I'm excited to see what he looks like. And I hope that early on he's one of those guys that maybe benefits from an increased role and, as guys are being rested or as minutes are being limited.
Celtics, they go to Abu Dhabi about a week from now. I think Saturday, the first preseason game against the Nuggets. Nuggets got going today as well with their training camp early. And we'll have more practice coverage here for CLNS Media and Celtics All Access, powered by Prize Picks. Use the code CLNS over there for a bonus, as well as Game Time, CLNS, same code for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. For Noah Dalzell, I'm Bobby Manning. Who are you most excited to see about among the young players on the roster here? Let us know below, and continue to subscribe and follow our coverage throughout training camp here on the Garden Report. Hey, Bobby Manning here. If you made it this far, you probably enjoyed this video, so subscribe, turn on notifications, and check out our social media platforms at Celtics CLNS